when you talk about trusting your gut, I mean, we're talking about, I mean, I guess about intuition and that sort of thing. When you're talking about trusting your gut, what are you talking about here? And go ahead and give us an example of where, where this has benefited you in your business.
As I touched briefly a few minutes ago about how the route that I took was a little different than a lot of my people that I know who are painters, because a lot of them will go and send their work to a art gallery and have the art gallery on consignment sell their paintings. And generally speaking, art galleries here in Canada at least take between 40 and 50% commission. And I tried that route, I did, and it wasn't my way at all, because for one thing, depending on, and I want to be very, very clear in that this is not the way for all, but some art galleries, some people in the art business, it can tend to be a bit snobby. Not all across the board, I want to say that, but from my experience there, I've had a few experiences in the snobby art world, and most people will know what I'm talking about, I think, because yeah. So I don't want to harp on that, but I have had that experience, and some art galleries would say, okay, I want you to paint this particular size, and I want you to only paint trees. I don't want any mountain paintings. I want you to do this, that, and the other. And it was just not my personal way. And so then I had to kind of find my own way in the world, and that's when I kind of took over my house and the whole front part of my house, and was transformed into my art gallery. And then I've had other business owners in town tell me that I will never be able to sell fine art from my house. You can't do that in a home business. And I'm like, yes, I can. Just watch me, And so, and for me, it works out perfectly, because being in my situation, and it made it much easier for me to get up in the morning and just go to work by going to the front of the house. And it was about, to be successful in business, one of the things that everyone says is you have to find your own niche. And for me, to have people be able to come in to right where I'm working in my studio gallery, and they see my paints, and they see my palette, and they see the pieces I'm working on, because I usually have several paintings on the go all at once, and then today, I swap it out for a different painting, and I'm bouncing all over. That's my way of working. And they love to see the mess of my brushes all in use and everything. And they come in, and I've got a couch in my studio gallery there, and they sit down, and they give them a cup of tea, and then, an hour later, they're like, I really have to have that painting that's hanging there, so that's just kind of my way of doing it. And when I started, I'd never heard of anybody else doing it that way. So it worked for me, and it's not going to work for everybody, but that's my way of doing it. And for me, the other thing that's really paid off is that I love to do commission work for my clients. And so a lot of times they'll come in and they'll talk to me about what they want, and they've been wanting a painting for a particular wall or a particular size, or sometimes they actually have a photograph. And I recently did one of for a client from Winnipeg, and it was of her mother's garden, which it was the house that they had grown up in. And her parents are elderly now and still in the house, but she wanted this memory of her mother's garden. And so I did that on a nice large canvas, and they loved it, and it was something that was very special to them. And so for me, that's been one of my biggest ways to make a living, is through doing this commission work. And I love it because I get to know my clients very well and very personally, and it's just, there's nothing better than seeing their faces when they come in and see their painting finished. And so for me,
Yeah.
that's really paid off.
See, and I think it's interesting. So when we talk about trusting your gut, you had a vision of a different way of doing your business, and you went out and you made it happen. That's applicable to everybody watching. There's a lot of people who will tell you that you can't run a coaching business this way, or you can't run a consulting business this way, or you can't run a restaurant this way, you can't do this that way. And if you trust your gut and you have a good idea, and it's the idea that you were meant to have, then it's going to be successful. You know, there's in the Lehigh Valley, Pennsylvania, there's a very small hot dog stand that's been around for 50 years. Yes, I said a hot dog stand that's been around for 50 years. They sell one thing and one thing. Yeah, I think they might sell fries now, but they sell hot dogs.
Right.
And, I can't stress this enough because it's kind of this bizarre concept of how can you
Yeah.
make any money? Well, they've supported two families, multiple generations, and been in business over 50 years just selling hot dogs. And it's
Yeah.
like, you're going, but they trusted their gut that that was what was going to be applicable. The other thing I want people to focus on, the one that I want our viewers to focus on, is something he said towards the end, because it's why trusting your gut and building your business in the way you want to build your business and with the clients you want is so critical. You notice how Caprice said that she loves the commission work. Well, the great part about it, Caprice, and correct me if I'm wrong, because the clients have come to you originally and they bought paintings in a certain style that they've liked. When they
Yeah.
come back, do you, I'll say ever, at least at first I'll say ever, do you ever get somebody who comes back to ask you to paint a painting that you aren't happy about, that you don't like, that isn't a style you'd want to use, that isn't a palette you'd want to use, isn't, that sort of thing? Does the question make sense? Because I'm babbling a little bit here.
It does make sense, and I've got a perfect story that I think this again goes back to trusting your gut. And doing a lot of painters that I know, they refuse to do commissions because of that very thing. They're worried that if the client doesn't like it, then they're stuck with this painting that they can't sell at the end. And for me, that's never been an issue because the majority of people that have come to me have all brought me things I could definitely turn around and sell to somebody else. So I don't. The commission work I do is generally a landscape, like it's in the vein of paintings that I already do. And but as an example of what you're saying, there was one painting, and there's this big, huge mountain. I don't know. Have you ever heard of Banff, Alberta? Here in Canada, it's one of the big tourist zones here, up here in Canada. And it's a beautiful mountain area. And there's one very famous mountain called Castle Mountain, and I've been asked to paint it several times. And mountains is my what I love to paint. And this one lady asked me to do her painting of that particular mountain. And it is a very solid, rugged, kind of dramatic mountain. And it's huge, and it's very iconic, and everybody knows it. So if I don't get it just right, people are going to know that I screwed it up. So it's one of those things that you really have to get right. And I've always done it in really dramatic colors, and oranges and reds and yellows, and really, in-your-face colors. And then when this one particular lady asked me to paint it for her, the next thing I know is I'm painting it in all these pastel, soft pinks and yellows, real soft, really, And my mom actually came in one day and she said, "What happened to your palette? Why are you painting it like that?" And I'm like, "Just came out. It just happened. This is where I'm at, I guess. I don't know. I can't explain it." She's like, "Well, that's so bizarre." I'm not a pastel type of person, and so it was very unusual for me to paint in that theme. And so then I finished the painting and we delivered it to her, and the first thing the lady says is, "Oh my goodness, that's absolutely perfect. I am so glad you didn't use oranges and reds because I can't stand oranges and reds." And she never told me that. And she's like, "Oh, the palette, the colors are just perfect for me." And she was a very soft, gentle person. And so that was kind of when I realized that, yeah, this is kind of my way, because I've got this ability to kind of tune into each client and know what it is they like. And I've had the same sort of experience where this one lady asked me to paint the view from their cottage, and they asked me they're on Thanksgiving weekend, and she told me she absolutely hates yellow. And we looked out over the lake with the mountains and all the yellow trees, and she said, "Don't put any yellow anywhere in the painting." I'm like, "You've got to be kidding me, lady." And she wrote this whole long list of notes of what she wanted in this painting, and I just kind of don't tell her, but I kind of tossed the list of notes away and I just did this painting. And of course, there was yellow in it because that's all there was in the view. And she just went insane when she saw the painting, and she kept hugging me and telling me how perfect it was. And so I don't disrespect their wishes, but there are just times when I just know this is what they're looking for, and it's a matter of the whole trusting your gut thing. And so, yeah, that's
Yeah.
kind of,
And those are
yeah,
great examples of trusting your gut. And what makes that work, I believe, is knowing your clients and attracting your ideal clients. And that's really as part of the whole trusting your gut thing that I was going to get into, or at least that I was leading to, was the fact that whether you're an artist, a coach, a consultant, if you get your ideal clients, if you trust your gut, if you persevere through the beginning and you get your ideal clients, then it's much easier to be in business and do um, do things your way, and people are going to like it. Where if you don't have your ideal clients, then it kind of leads us into the not always being easy. I mean, there's definitely other things, but we're going to
right.
wrap up trust your gut and get into it's not always easy. Raise your hand if you could use more clients. Now keep those hands up if you know that the best, most efficient, most effective way to attract your ideal client is to create great client attracting content that connects with your ideal client and makes it easier for you to convert them into paying clients. Now, whether you have your hands up or have your hands down, I invite you to join me on the Create, Connect, and Convert online summit. It's where I and other people who are real world practitioners of creating great client attracting content are going to share our secrets with you. The summit is online. It runs Wednesday, April 13th through Saturday, April 23rd. You need to go out to the web address on your screen at this point, register to reserve your seat. And remember, you want to join us on the Create, Connect, and Convert online summit, because creating content is how you spread your message, reach more people, and make a bigger difference. To watch the rest of this epic episode now, click on the link below the video. Do it now, you'll be glad you did. Are you still here? What are you waiting for? Watch the rest of this epic episode now by clicking on the link below the video.